Do you see issues with that squad and their response to Marchand and how they're playing?
Oh yeah, there's issues, no question about it. I mean, it's no question they got the firepower, they got some big offensive pieces that are talented and flashy, and you can look at a highlight reel of them and it looks fantastic, but there's some pretty big holes on the back end. I mean, they're injured right now, so that certainly doesn't help. They got three guys they could certainly use that are watching right now, but just from a team mentality on, you look every year at what it takes to win in the playoffs and the big tough defensemen and hard to play against, and then certainly, a team first mentality where players stand up for each other and care about each other and they're all on the same page. And this Maple Leafs team is having trouble finding it. I don't think it's a lost cause yet, but they certainly got to figure out their back end. I mean, last night, a game that they could win, and they just get picked apart in their D zone and end up getting smoked. So they got a ways to go for sure. The sky's not falling like people like to think it is every loss in Toronto, but they got some work to do.
What's interesting about kind of that the rant, if you want to call it that you went on, but you would have been a lot of fans frustrated, and I guarantee you at the top of the list somewhere at Scotiabank Arena would be Brad Treliving, because he, just knowing him from here, he values a little bit of stink in your game. That's why you go out and get Ryan Reeves, and there's a bit of that in Bertuzzi's game, and there's certainly some of that in Domi's game. Those guys were all brought in by him by design to have a similar type of a response. It drove fans crazy. I know it drove him crazy.
Yeah, for sure. It's a bad look. I mean, you name a team that wins Stanley Cups who aren't there for each other at the drop of a hat. It's like all their personal identities go away, and they're just this one melted thing of this team, and they just go through walls for each other. And that look there against Boston was just embarrassing. I mean, one of the cheaper players in the league, you can put together a highlight reel of him, straddling the line, crossing the line, doing little things to, maybe it's not that he's really good at doing things that aren't totally blatant, but are cheap shotting guys, potentially hurting guys. And he can openers Liljegren and like snaps his leg on the boards. And then you'd think he would just be getting attacked by the whole roster. Like, you fuckery, we're coming now. We're coming now. And you're not going to get out of this game without some kind of a bell to answer. And instead, he's the one running his mouth to their bench, and they're all just kind of looking around like, I couldn't believe it. I'm sure Treliving's blood was boiling. I would have been tossing garbage cans in that locker room after saying, you guys better go out and get shit-faced together, figure out something. Like, go do whatever you need to do to figure out who you guys are, because that's a joke of a team. You aren't going to win anything playing like that. And it's not all about going out and fighting and stuff like that, but give a rip about each other. And that was just so glaringly obvious that they're not there yet. It was tough not to fly off the handle about
Isn't it a little bit odd, though? You say not there yet. This isn't a team that is... They've been together for a while, the most of them, right? Like, you would think that they would be there, or at least partly there.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's frustrating, but it's a work in progress. And as you know, Rhett, like every year's a little bit different. You have different looks at it. Sure, the core pieces are the same, but like you mentioned, you bring in the Bertuzzis and the Domis and the Revos, and you got a different look to it now. You'd think that, they'd start to have that identity, and it's tough to tear them apart right now and say it's a lost cause when it's a dozen games into the season, but it's definitely not the look they were going for when they made the changes they did in the offseason.
Are you surprised that Treliving stuck with Sheldon Keefe?
I mean, at the end of the season last year, I thought Keefe was going to go and Dubas was going to stay. It didn't work out that way. It depends what the options are. I mean, to change a coach just for changing a coach, it doesn't always work. You look at you guys in Calgary. I mean, people thought that was the problem, and now you just canned a recent Jack Adams Award winner. And for what? I mean, you're not doing any better. It's not always the answer, but I mean, he's the next thing to go if things don't change. I feel like the seat's getting a little warm underneath him, and a few more of these big eggs get laid, and he'll be the next to go, I think.
Yeah, I thought, and last night he threw out you guys like to celebrate. We like to celebrate guys that score goals. What we need to work on keeping the puck out of our net, whatever it is. However many home games in a row they've allowed 4 goals against. No matter how many goal scorers you have, that's not the way to win. It feels like it's a direct shot at his elite scorers, Matthews, Marner, those types of guys, and obviously it's by design. But it feels like. And on one hand, it's that media thing. Oh, nobody ever says anything. It's boring. Why don't you say something? And then when they say something, it's like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Kind of. But I just wonder how many times, because he's done this a lot in the past, where it's either a direct shot or a veiled shot at some of the guys in his room. And you may not disagree, but I just wonder, that feels it's pretty clear who he's talking about. You don't want to alienate those guys either, though, right?
Yeah, and I didn't take it that way. I think the media twists it into, like you say, oh, you shouldn't have said that, even though they're begging for him to say something. I think it was more of, everyone's talking about, oh, Nylander's point streak here and these accolades and all this personal shit. And, oh, isn't this great? How talented are we? And he's going, look around. We're not going to outscore our problems. We're not going to win 7-6 in the playoffs. Like, you guys are talking about all these personal accolades and these offensive, feathers and guys' caps. Like, look around, we're not good enough. And I don't think it's a shot at those guys. That's what you pay them for. They put up points and go on streaks and go on heaters and do things that are great offensively. But I think he's just pointing to the fact that that's not getting it done. That's not enough. You guys are, the press and the media are jerking off to these different accolades, and he's going, that means nothing. Like, it's a feather in a one guy's cap. That's fine, but it doesn't mean anything. Marner went on a tear last year and set some records. What does that mean now? Absolutely nothing. So I think he's talking about the holes in their game defensively, a team defense first mentality, shoring up their own zone and actually winning some games, and stop talking about these things that don't matter.
Boom, jump in and help me out, just because I'm thinking about something.
Sure, buddy.
Trying to talk. Over the last couple of years, they add guys at the trade deadline. It was Foligno was one of them, right? Yeah. Last year, O'Reilly, heart and soul type of guys, right? Yeah. That you feel would be great fits in Toronto and that would want to be there, but they can't keep them. Now, is that because they were getting more money to go somewhere else and that alone? Or did they see those heart and soul guys see something in that room where they're like, this isn't exactly what it's supposed to be? Is there any chance that happened?
Yeah, and whether it's like a locker room thing or if it's a market thing. I mean, I remember playing there and guys from other teams around that trade deadline are calling, my buddies saying, like, what's it like there? Like, I'm getting this offer and there's this murmur about that. And my agent's talking about Toronto. And sometimes guys are like, don't come here, man. Like, it's nuts. Like, they'll pick you apart. Like, stay where you are or take this option, because like, guys, if you win a cup in Toronto, like, you're a god for the rest of your life. You'll never buy a drink again. You'll never work again. You could just sign autographs for a living the rest of your life if that's what you want to do. And I think that's lost on people because they haven't done it for so long. And there's always the struggle and always the coming up short aspect of it. And when guys play there, especially when they're a high talent and a high paid player, I just feel they're just like, screw this, man. I can go down to Nashville and, live that lifestyle, get paid even more. Like, even if it's the same contract, you're getting less in taxes and way of living. And it's just too appealing to some guys. And like, who wants to deal with that scrutiny? And like, the city's its own worst enemy. And like you say, you try to keep guys on your roster that you bring in, and it doesn't seem to really work. And I think the market scares guys away. I think the media scares guys away, because who wants to just add that voluntarily on their own plate? They make it very difficult. And, if you add in, if you sprinkle in the factor that you think this core isn't good enough to get it done, the mentality's not good, there's too many individuals, then it becomes an easy decision to guys. But I mean, once you get the right team together, I mean, they've been trying forever, but if you go on a tear, you win. Like, even conference finals, they're still talking about the last time they did that in the 90s, the glory team who didn't even win anything, there you go.
We beat them.
There you go.
I was on the Buffalo team. We kicked their ass.
Well, that's their legendary team as of now. So, I mean, you actually put together
boobs. We dominated them. We absolutely pounded them.
So there you go, Warren. Your claim to fame. I like it, man.
He's got a few of them, but yeah, that one comes out of the woodwork every once in a while.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.